Welcome to Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. Our first Reddit post is from Skithry. Steal my design and get all the credits, enjoy getting kicked off. So my friend over in Korea studies fashion design. She sometimes sends me over the sketches of the designs and they all look amazing. Then again, I'm not into fashion. She is particularly interested in designing handbags and purses. She told me a story about how she shut down one of the most entitled, self-centered, lazy students on campus. Cast: Grace, our main character girl; Jane, the evil one; Professor, the instructor of the course. Story: At first, Grace and Jane got along just fine. They were both interested in similar stuff. Grace decided to show Jane her sketches and designs for handbags and purses, and Jane was so impressed by it. Because the sketches were in incredible detail, including all the patterns in sew lines, coupled with figurative measurements. Even Professor was impressed by it, and it was no surprise that Grace got a high mark on their first major exam. Jane didn't do so well, and practically followed Grace everywhere to get pointers on how to do better. So Grace decided to help her out. Unfortunately, Jane turned out to be one of the most entitled, lazy, and selfish people that Grace has ever met. Things that Jane did to piss Grace off included, but not limited to, not paying attention, being late on their study session, never showed appreciation, didn't pay for coffee or snack, complaining annoyingly about how hard it was to draw something. Grace pretty much gave up on her after a week, refusing to meet Jane outside of her class. Time went by, and for their midterm, everyone in the class had to do a presentation on the stuff they had designed. When it was Jane's turn, Grace was shocked to see Jane had stolen one of her designs. Thankfully, Grace had multiple designs going on, so there were no conflicts when it was her turn to present, but she was seething with rage. Grace had a meeting with the professor afterwards, and the professor knew what was going on, but couldn't really do anything with Jane because it turns out she was the daughter of the chairman or one of the major investors. Grace said she can't recall. The chairman apparently blackmailed the professor into giving Jane the best grades. The revenge. Professor did, however, help Grace devise a plan to humiliate and expose Jane. For the finals, the professor announced to the class they would do another presentation, but it would be 3 designs, and advised they had to bring their A games because professionals from industries would be grading their work. So you know how Grace had a bunch of sketches for the class? Well, Grace also had a separate sketchbook that had designs from major brands. MK, Coach, you name it. She never used these directly for class assignments, but rather as inspirations for her designs. Grace pretended to be all friendly with Jane again, and brought the other sketchbook on their meetings, still putting up with all the problems mentioned above. Grace secretly worked tirelessly on her new design and did her best to keep it a secret from Jane. So the day of the final presentation arrives, and Grace and Professor are grinning because they know what is about to happen. Grace went first, and she got a lot of praise from the judges. After a few more presentations, the last one to go was Jane. Jane's presentation turned out to be another copycat, copying designs of not 1, not 2, but 3 different companies. After the presentation, this was how it went all down, at least according to Grace. Judge 1: So you are saying you designed all these by yourself, right? Jane: That's right. Judge 1: And you swear that it really was your design and didn't copy off from anything else, right? Jane: I swear. Judge 1: You are aware your designs are from 3 brands. Jane: Huh? Judge 1: Are you aware that these are on market right now, and some of the most popular designs? Jane: Wait, hold on. Judge 2: Yeah, I was going to bring this up. If you had worked for any brands, you would have probably been fired or, worst case, sued. Jane: But. Judge 2: Please, I am not done yet. Did you honestly think this would work? We, the judges, have been in the industry for over 10 years. We know a copycat when we see it. Jane: But these aren't even my designs. They are from Grace. Judge 3 to Grace, is this true? Grace: yes, but I'd never use them for major projects nor call them my work. I just use sketches of them as inspirations from my own designs. Judge 3: well, that was clear from your presentation. Turning back to Jane now, Ms. Jane, this is a clear case of plagiarism, and I do hope your school is merciful on this matter. After the presentation was over, the chairman screamed at the professor in front of everyone. Jane tried to call out Grace on how you screwed me over, but it really didn't matter. No one listened to Jane's attempt and slander, and was kicked out of the school. Chairman pretty much lost all support and had to resign, and was replaced by far more honorable and competent one. Edit: it's only been 3 hours and I already got a silver. Thanks, guys. For everyone that's saying this sounds like fake webtoon drama plot, let me tell you that shit like this happens all the time in Korea. But most of the times, victims tend to just swallow the losses and try not to make a big deal out of it because they don't want the infamy of all drama that it will release. If you think gossiping and fake rumors were bad in us colleges, wait until you see what happens in Korean colleges. Besides, the plots of webtoon and dramas are often based on or inspired by real-life events. I also forgot to add that Grace passed with flying colors and was recommended for an apprenticeship internship over at Paris, but due to COVID-19 it was cancelled. This comment is from Daminicus999. Couldn't have gone off better. I find it kinda funny how they were some of the most popular designs, but Jane didn't recognize any of them. It truly shows how much was studying for her class. This comment is from Leonard. It's tunnel vision. Lazy people see a job being easily completed and nothing else. I've seen it happen a lot. They're looking too hard for an easy out and ignore every other detail. Source: 2 of my roommates are the laziest people in the world. This comment is from 75erks. Professor, the instructor of the course. Also, good revenge. Now, a word from today's sponsor. Surfshark is an all-around VPN solution that can do everything from torrenting as well as streaming to browsing the dark web. Surfshark is one of the very best all-round VPN, terrific for Netflix, torrenting, confidential browsing, as well as staying safe on public Wi-Fi. Check out Surfshark today, link is in the description. Now back to the video. Our next Reddit post is from Wentovoy Drama. Illegally park and block driveways in our neighborhood and do it consistently while throwing a party. Expect what's coming. 2 years ago, a new family moved into our quiet little neighborhood and began their reign of terror. We've lived here for over 20 years in this neighborhood, and except for these past 2 years, it's been wonderful. I love our neighbors, except this family. This just family sucks. I'm not even sure where to begin. They are loud, they are dirty, they are obnoxious, their dog barks at all hours. They constantly yell at each other, they throw parties well into the night. They steal my older neighbor's paper. They actually trained their Rottweiler to fetch the neighbor's paper. Impressive but wrong. They throw their dog's poo into other yards. Arg so much. They even cut my 80-something-year-old neighbor's prized roses for themselves. Who does that? There are about 100 issues I could write about in how we've all dealt with them, but this past weekend was my own glorious take on it all. Oh, and yes, we tried talking to them. We tried inviting them over. We've done nice things for them, and all we've expected is that they act like decent neighbors. That's never happened. In our neighborhood, parking is scarce. Most of these homes are classic 1950s, with single-lane driveways, and parking is limited even on the streets. There's a busy road a few blocks away that has a great nightlife and popular restaurants, which means that at times, especially on the weekends, the street can fill up. This family has 4 drivers and 5 vehicles, with only enough space for 2 in their driveway at a time. Constantly they would park and leave their vehicles for days and sometimes weeks in front of others' homes, sometimes leaving their driveway empty for no reason with all of their cars parked on the road. I kind of believe that in itself isn't that big of a deal except for how and when they would do it. They were intentional about it all, would do so to try to and cause the most grief with everyone. And this went on for months. A complete fuck you to everyone. After months of this, and no one retaliating or giving them the satisfaction of how pissed we all are, they started parking deliberately in ways to make it difficult to get out of our driveways. I had to have my husband come out most mornings to guide me so I wouldn't hit their car as I backed out of my own driveway. There were also times where they squeezed my neighbor's car on the street to where they couldn't get out. Finally, an older retired neighbor goes down to City Police Station and inquires about what to do. They found a code or law stating that so much space from the sides of driveways and yada 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 is required. So we come home one night to freshly painted yellow curbs outlining every house surrounding this one. A few weeks ago, my husband's car breaks down and he has to get towed. On his way back, he starts talking with the tow truck driver about these asshole neighbors and their cars. He tells my husband that if these cars are parking illegally, we should call the non-emergency line, and if they receive a ticket to call him, and he can tow them at owner's expense. It's the law. My husband and him keep talking and even meet up for a beer a few nights later. They are big fans of the Blazers. Rip City. He's a real good guy. About a month ago, we met a couple in our fair city, and it just so happens that the husband is an officer. We were already planning on meeting that Friday night, and when we met, I brought the asshole neighbors and their parking. He says that he'll drive through on his shift. Great. He also gets some of his friends to check it out when they have time too. Fantastic. We've been calling almost daily at this point about their cars parked illegally, but nothing was happening. That Saturday night he sends me a text saying he ticketed 3 cars. I missed that text, so no tow truck, but I kind of figured with the 3 tickets they'd get the idea. They didn't. Off and on all week it was the same. This past Saturday, the teenage son throws a party and everyone, I mean every single one of their guests and them, parked in the yellow of someone's driveway or blocked someone out altogether. Obviously, the little shit told all of his friends to block our driveways or block our cars in. I sent a text to our officer friend, who told me to call the non-emergency line and he'd be the one to look into it. But I'm scheming bigger. I call up the tow truck driver and tell him that there are at least 15 cars parked illegally and all are about to receive parking tickets for blocking driveways and cars. I let him know we are friends with an officer and he and I scheme a little further. We get a solid plan. I call our officer friend back and tell him our plan, and I also mention that the party is likely going to be filled with underage drinkers. Now, I hate busting parties, but I make exceptions for little shits, and especially little underage drinking and driving shits. He and I finalized the plan. Here's how it all went down. Officer and 3 of his partners go through the neighborhood citing all of the cars. Meanwhile, our tow truck driver friend has assembled a group of drivers in the nearby grocery store parking lot. My husband and I make anonymous call about a possible underage party. The tow truck drivers start at the ends of our street, grabbing the cars as quickly as possible. A few alarms here and there, but no way could they hear it in the party. When they approach the house, my husband makes an anonymous call about an underage party in our neighborhood. Conveniently, our officer friend just so happens to still be in the neighborhood, so he and his partner go over to the house to check on it. As they knock on the door, lights go out, music shuts off, and the house goes quiet. At this moment, the tow trucks come in and are now towing the remaining 5 cars right from in front of their home. I just wish I could see the kids' faces inside as they are all having a dilemma about what to do. Do they go out and bust themselves for underage drinking and try to stop their cars from being towed, or do they just sit and bite the bullet and watch 250 go down the drain? On Sunday, they had 3 cars return from being towed, and all 3 are parked just shy of the yellow lines. I'll call this a win. My husband and a couple of neighbors also spent Sunday putting up some new cameras. They were all very giddy and loud about it all. Something about all the lights and police on Saturday made them nervous. Lol. Edit for the threats against me for busting the underage party. How did you skip right over? As they knock on the door, lights go out, music shuts off, and the house goes quiet. Nothing happened to the kids at the party other than them watching their cars get towed off. In America, the police can't just go into a home without a warrant. If the kids aren't opening their door or inviting the officers in, there's nothing the police can do other than stand outside. This comment is from Wantovoy Drama. The tow truck guy let us know he owes us. He anal said he'd gladly do it for free next time. I guess the majority of the kids that showed up were real assholes, and it gave him and his crew great pleasure fucking them over. Hopefully they learn a lesson. This comment is from Sanity Contagion. Yes, a great story that had nothing to do with school or teachers. Yes, this is why I subscribe. Thank you, Op. This comment is from Astrum. That was one atomic wedgie you gave them, ma. That was Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. If you like this content, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified of new uploads. We upload new videos every day. Also subscribe to our Patreon, as that will help us a lot. See you next time.